What's up guys, and welcome to this legendary lord tier list. Today I'm going over all the legendary lords, ranking them in order, and as you can see, S is the lowest tier because all of these lords are just amazing to have. Just every single one of them is gonna boost your account, but there are some that are just more valuable than others. And after this video, I'm pretty sure you will have a good grasp on which legendary lords are gonna accelerate your account into oblivion. And I'd say these are basically the big three, is what I like to call them. And then when these guys come in, get that 10x, then I think then you should get your ancients and use them, and otherwise be really careful with your ancients to summon. But disclaimer before we get into the rankings, I really rank them according to their skills, according to their lord bonus, and also according to their faction. Their skill set has the highest value out of all of it by a mile, then the lord bonus, and then the faction, because the faction it can always improve on, like it can always improve, right? So the skills is the most valuable thing, because if you have a lord that doesn't have that insane of a kit, you're not going to use him in stuff like the Void Rift. Whereas if you have a lord that doesn't have the craziest lord bonus but just has an amazing kit, you're going to use them anyways. So for example, if you have a unit like Morrigan, who is a good lord, who has a decent kit, but her kit just doesn't match up to someone like a Comet or someone like a Boreas, her rating suffers a lot because her own value isn't as strong, and you're not going to place her down that often. Cause the problem with her is, sure, she deals nice damage, consistent damage, but what is more valuable than consistent damage in most cases is going to be burst damage. And in terms of burst damage, Morrigan just suffers from Comet, from Boreas, from the existence of these two, because they just are by far the strongest mages in the game. And in Void Rift, for example, you really want a Boreas or a Comet. Once the waves come in, they just obliterate these waves and you're good to go. Whereas Morrigan doesn't have that burst. And on top of that, because Boreas and Comet are both esotericists, and currently the cursed faction isn't as strong as the esotericist faction, she doesn't have the strongest faction either, right? And this is why I'm gonna place her here into the S tier. Doesn't mean she's weak, just means that she is not the creme de la creme, right? Whereas someone, for example, who is the complete opposite, like I said, who has a strong kit but maybe not a strong faction, is Laya. Laya has one of the strongest kits out of all the lords. There are not many lords that can keep up with her, and she is just straight up amazing. And her kit is so strong that you're gonna use her in many cases even without her having to be a lord. For example, I have Laya since week 3 of playing the game, and these two, by the way, are the lowest drop rate units. And I used Laya in all of the gear rate 21s, so gear rate 1, 2, 3, stage 21. She's amazing. She is even so good that she is getting used in guild boss, not as a lord but as a support. That's how strong her kit is. That's why she is SS. Now you guys might argue, why is she not C tier? Because Z tier is reserved for only 2 units and God tier only for 1 unit. We will go over that later. So yeah, Laya with her heals are just really strong. Her lord bonus is extremely strong, by the way. Her rage regen amazing, her damage buff amazing. With the cycling and everything, she just brings so much to the table, right? And with the artifact that she has 100% starting rage is perfect. It is so good. And the only thing really that where she is lacking is in the faction. Even though the Watcher faction has gotten quite some improvements lately, it still isn't that crazy strong of a faction, but there just needs to be one top tier unit, and she gets even more up there, right? Which is crazy to think about. She's just such a good support, such a good universal versatile unit that you want to have, that you can place down everywhere, and is completely the opposite of Morrigan. Whereas Laya, you want to place her down because of her amazing kit. Morrigan you mainly use for her Lord bonus. Sure, she deals good damage too, but compared to, like I said, the top tier mages, she just doesn't keep up, right? And then someone else who I'm gonna put into S tier as well is Venoma. I have Venoma. Her Lord skill is really nice. Like the initial starting rage for any unit, not just for esotericists, but for others as well, is really nice to have. It helps you a lot in certain areas, or at least it could. But currently, there is not many places where I've seen like, okay, that Lord bonus would be so good to have. It is nice, it has potential, but currently there is no content that really needs it. She is strong in AoE arena thanks to that Lord bonus, but Cyrus is just the better version of her. Cyrus is just the better version of her because not only does Cyrus have an extremely good kit, like he is a tank who really is able to provide some damage, but also he boosts 25% extra damage on top of that when these esotericists such as Comet, such as Boreas pop their ultimates. Whereas Venoma, her kit, similar to Morrigan, is just not as strong as the other mages. The utility she brings with the curses and everything and the hex is not really that good either. Her damage is really lacking, Venoma's damage. She mainly profits from her initial rage and from being in a good faction. But in terms of Void Rift, you basically don't really want to use her there because you really need 8 units that are good. And in the Void Rift, there is no place for her. Whereas Cyrus, you know, you can place him down as a defender. He will deal damage. He will be able to tank. He will buff your mages even harder. He's amazing for arena as well. He's also really good for guild wars, and he's just straight up basically better version of Venoma. And speaking of defenders, we also have here our boy Ghan. Now Ghan is also really good, pretty much on par with Cyrus, I'd say, because the thing is, the chaotic faction, it is also just an amazing faction, and it only really gets enabled once you have Ghan, because Ghan's Lord bonus is so good. Getting that increased attack and increased damage and increased defense when they're low is just so good for extra damage, for extra survivability. It really enables some of these chaotics, and it's really strong. Unfortunately though, it doesn't really quite manage, he doesn't really quite manage to get to SS, but for stuff like the Conqueror in Immortal Codex, he's amazing. For all of the PvP content, he's amazing because chaotic are just so good in PvP, right? The thing is though, he isn't really that good for most of the gear rates. Like you're not gonna use him in the gear rates mainly. And in Void Rift he is decent, but he's a tank who deals damage just like Cyrus. But if you, most of the time in Void Rift, you just take either a tank or you're a fighter, right? So he is strong, he has a strong faction, and he has S+. So S+ is already top. Just don't get it twisted, guys. S+ is top, right? But there's even better than top. So Ghan, also an amazing hero. And staying at the defenders, we have King Harz. Now King Harz, he will be the best unit in the game to have for the upcoming Solcadens Immortal Codex, where it is all about defenders. The thing is, I don't value Immortal Codex that highly, to be honest, and I don't think other than that King Harz is that crazy compared to the other lords, because we're comparing lords to lords here, right? And in terms of viability, in terms of versatility, King Harz is nowhere near these other guys, because the problem with King Harz is, in Void Rift for example, you rather put down a Broke here than a King Harz. You rather have a Broke here as your defender that doesn't have a Lord bonus than a King Harz who has a Lord bonus, because even without the Lord bonus, Broke here will be tankier than King Harz. That's just how strong Broke here is, or an Olag for example. Whereas King Harz brings some really strong defensive capabilities with himself and is a strong defender, don't get me wrong. defending at the current stage of the game isn't really as important as damage, which is in most of these games the case, and which is why I'm not that big of a fan of his lord bonus, because it really just gives a lot of tankiness to your units, and currently you don't need that much, other than that upcoming Solcadens Immoral Codex. But even that, I don't expect it to be a consistent theme where you are gonna need extremely tanky units overall that get bonus armor, bonus defensive capabilities solely through King Harz. So yeah, he's not the best defender, he doesn't have the best lord skill, neither does he have the best faction. He's just average across the board for a lord, huh? Don't get it twisted, for a lord, average across the board, which is why he is down here in the S tier category. And same here belongs to our boy Ajax. Now Ajax, he is also S tier, but he is strong. He's one of the most underrated units nowadays, I feel like, out of the lords. But he is really strong. He is really strong. He can cover multiple lanes. And the thing about Ajax is that he's really strong once you collect more lords. Once you have these other lords, for a whale for example, Ajax becomes extremely strong, because then Ajax can make use out of all of these different lord skills that you can make use of. He can be used in gear rate 3 on the left hand side, right? He can be used in gear rate 1 as a demon as well. But same here for the other mages as well. Ajax is purely basically a damage mage, and he just suffers from the existence of Comet and Boreas, who just are stronger than Ajax. Even though Ajax is getting pretty good damage numbers out, he is reducing the magic resist of the enemies, and he is also really good for PvP content in like the Guild Wars. Of course, you can cover multiple lanes with him at once. He is really unique. He's really unique. And he's strong, just not quite as strong as the other lords. Now let's get back up here into the SS tier, and we have ourselves a Aracha. Now Aracha is amazing, guys. Aracha, let me tell you about Aracha, yeah? The thing that she has going for herself is that she has a really good range for a fighter. So she's a long range fighter who deals a lot of damage. Actually, her damage is quite strong as well. So her kit is viable, right, because of her damage. Her lord skill is amazing for stuff like gear rate 3. By far the best unit to have is Aracha. She's gonna help you so much in terms of damage, right? If you have Aracha, your Idril will just rinse. For Guild Wars, she's gonna be amazing as well, because she enables some new placements for you. She is good in the Void Rift as well, because she deals a lot of damage, and she is just overall extremely strong. She's also good for the Guild War, for the Guild Boss, of course. She's getting used there as well. She profits a lot, of course. She profits really a lot, and this is also a big part why she's here in the SS tier over someone of the likes of a Ghan, someone of the likes of a Cyrus, is that she profits a lot from the existence of Silas. Yeah, having the strongest unit in the game in your faction helps you a lot, and this is why she's getting used in the guild boss. Silas and Hex are some of the strongest hitters for the guild boss. They're all both piercers. Piercers is a strong faction in that aspect, and this is also something that she profits on a lot, of course. But yeah, but she just checks all the boxes. She has a good kit, she has a good faction, and she has a good lore bonus. The only reason why she's not in Z tier or God tier is because she is not having an insane kit, like absolutely rinsing stuff, right? And we're gonna get over these in a second as well. But first up, let's take a look at our current 10x that is coming out, and that is Demi. Now Demi is gonna be along in S tier as well. She is just like many of these S tier units. She has some amazing capabilities, like King Harz has a niche capability. Ajax with his range, right, is unique. King Harz with his tankiness is unique. Venoma with the rage is unique. And Demi with her invisibility and basically having a AP version of Hatsut's ultimate is also unique. The thing is though, her starting rage is not the same as Hatsut, of course. Her cost is way higher than Hatsut's. She loses the invisibility when she uses her ultimate, but that slow during the invisibility makes for some certain different unique combos that you can use, or you can use her in gear 8-3 to slow down your beholders for your Idril, because she's just invisible. She will take care of them, right? Which is nice. And her ult damage is actually quite high. The problem again here is just that it's the use cases are not going to be as universal as someone like a Laya, as someone like a Aracha, right? These guys are more niche. But I really feel like Demi has some places to be. She has some interesting strategies that you can use her with. You can use a Demi plus Aurora combo for certain Void Rift stages where your Demi just slows down everyone and your Aurora hits them. And this way they won't even focus on neither of these guys, the flying guys that corrupt the floor. They won't attack Demi because she's invisible, and they won't attack Aurora because she's invisible. So Demi will just slow them down and Aurora will just hit them, and these two will work perfectly well together. It is something that is unexpected, but that's something you can do with that invisibility, right? Now let's get into our next SS tier unit, and that is Twinfiend. Twinfiend, he checks all the boxes. He has a great kit, he has a great faction, he has a great faction bonus, right? He is the best lord in the game for guild boss. He's gonna help your team out a lot in the current meta. He has a great kit overall, with an extremely low rage cap on his ultimate, making his ultimate spammable, dealing quite significant damage. Of course not as much as a Comet or a Boreas, but that's not what he's here for mainly. He's here for mainly his support, but also his damage is helping out a lot in different stages. For example, in the Void Rift, where you can just one-shot a wave with his ultimate. Next wave is coming in a few seconds after his ultimate is already back up because it's only 500 cost. And you can do the exact same thing with our first Z tier unit, and that is our boy Solcadens. Now Solcadens edges out over Twinfiend because sure, Twinfiend might be a bit better for the guild boss, but Solcadens is just so good. He is creme de la creme. He's one of the big three guys. If he gets a 10x, I'm going to go all in on my summons. Most likely. Maybe I'm gonna hold it for one of the other big threes. But Solcadens, let me tell you about Solcadens. The thing is, the reason why he's higher than Twinfiend is that his ultimate is such a big nuke. It just evaporates anything. His range is the range of a marksman. His Lord skill is of course amazing as well. The thing is, out with Solcadens you can just easily get 50k blood on the guild boss, just like with Twinfiend. Maybe with Twinfiend you get 200k blood with a single run, but do you really need to get 200k, right? You don't, you simply don't. So Solcadens gets the job done more than enough, and his own damage is just so high. His kit is dealing so much damage. His nuke that he gets, just like Twinfiend, with a low cost of 500, is just crazy. Like if you have a Dolores buff on him, if you have different stuff on him, like in Guild Boss I was able to hit for 10 million with his ultimate nuke, over 10 million nukes with his ult, right? So he can just evaporate any wave, any enemy that comes in, he just evaporates with his ultimate, and shortly after his ultimate is back up already. So he's gonna be amazing for stuff like Void Rift, Guild Wars, Guild Boss, and upcoming boss killer. He's just one of the big boss killers in this game, who just performs extremely well in that aspect, and he's just really strong in boss killing capabilities, but also in terms of burst damage with his ultimate nuke. And of course it helps him as well to be part of the best faction in the game, just like Twinfiend is. Like the Inferno faction just has some of the by far strongest units, right? You have Dolores probably the strongest unit together with Silas. You have Setram, amazing, Zillitu, amazing, Hex, amazing, and the list goes on and on. Infernal is just insane, and so you, not only for his kit, I've been mainly talking about his kit, but also the faction he's in and the faction that he provides these bonus stats really is amazing as well. Now another guild boss faction is the Nightmare faction, and I've been thinking between S and S plus for Torodor. Torodor barely gets into S plus, barely, mainly because the Nightmare faction is just a really strong faction in my opinion. And Torodor has his use cases in some of the gear rates. He has his use cases in the guild boss as well, which makes him deserving of the S plus. It would be better if he were a fighter that deals a lot of damage, of course, but his lord skill is amazing. His faction, his heavy hitting fighters are amazing too, and his revive is really good. His defense down is good. He can be used in stuff like Guild Wars, Guild Boss, Gear Rate 2. He's doing really well as a tank who deals some damage as well. And yeah, he is S plus. And another S plus unit, the last S plus unit we're gonna have, is Elddr. Now Elddr was really hyped up when he came out. And I tested him on the test server, of course, and he is strong, don't get me wrong. He has extremely nice lore bonus. We can take a look here, of course. Let's take a look here at Elddr. There we go. So Elddr's lore bonus, he gives shields, and when his faction allies are shielded, he increases the attack of them as well, giving them a lot of bonus damage. And overall, he's just a heavy hitting tanky unit, basically, similar to some of these other lords, of course, as well. If we take a look here, like a Cyrus, like a Ghan as well, these guys are also tanky that hit quite decently. Of course, Elddr hits harder. The thing is, the Northern Throne, even with his boost, doesn't deal as much damage as some of the other top tier factions, but the capabilities and the viable aspects of Elddr are really strong. He is a really strong unit, really strong for stuff like the Void Rift, but he can also be used in different stuff such as Guild Wars, of course, or even Gear Rate 2. The thing is, like I said, he was really hyped up at the beginning, and his kit and everything is great. The capabilities of what he can do and what he provides with his lore bonus are just really strong. He just hasn't found a spot yet where he is able to shine. He just hasn't really found a spot where you can be like, damn, Elddr is creme de la creme. He helps me so much here, right? He just hasn't found that spot yet. But in reading through it, of course, he still has a lot of potential. Main problem just is that the damage of his faction isn't comparing to someone like an Infernal faction, even with his lore bonus, and his own damage isn't comparing to someone like the top tier hitters for the guild boss, because it would just be broken, right? To have such a tanky faction be able to deal the same amount of damage as less tankier factions, it is understandable. And like I said, damage over tankiness at the current meta, and most of the time in the future probably as well, which is why in the S+, but not any higher than that. Then let's get into God tier here. Praetus. Now Praetus is broken, guys. Praetus is... People be saying, oh, you need all of the arbiters for Praetus to be super strong. Not really, not really. Even without all of the arbiters, he is amazing. And the thing is, if you take a look here at the arbiters, if you have Praetus, you have one arbiter. You have Elddr, who was for free, and Valk and Constance are pretty frequent drops at the normal summons. So you can get these. Most of the players will eventually get both of them, and therefore you will pretty much already have 4 units out of your Supreme Arbiters. And this way your Praetus will already be a demon, and even without having a full Arbiter team, just his kit alone. It's not just the reason why people want him to have multiple Arbiters is because of his lore bonus, but the thing is, even with that, he is so strong. He deals a lot of damage consistently. His consistent uptime, his uptime on his damage is just ridiculously strong. His uptime on his he just hits hard. He just hits really hard consistently, bursts enemies down. There's people in the arena, for example, single target arena, just building a team around Praetus being their single damage healer, and they're winning. They're winning every fight against top-notch arena teams because he is just so potent and so consistent with his damage. And true damage, his range is ridiculous, of course. His Lord skill is ridiculous, of course. His damage is, he is God tier. He's God tier. He is undisputed. And now we have our last unit, an upcoming Lord, Valderon. Some of you guys already seen my video about it or another video about him. Valderon, I've been testing him intensively. I'll be making a video on him as well. And I'm amazed by him. Let me tell you guys, I am amazed. Quick artistical pause here before we get into Elddr. Where is he gonna be placed? Now what I can tell you guys, he's not gonna be placed in S tier, of course. What I can tell you guys, Valderon, if we pull him up real quick, here we go. So Valderon is an absolute unit, guys. He's an absolute unit. He's a force to be reckoned with, and he is so tanky with his Lord skill. Even though he is a fighter, he's super tanky. He deals insane amounts of damage, and he is basically just like Elddr, who wants to be tanky and deal a lot of damage. Valderon has an amazing faction, a stronger faction, like chaotic faction is insane. He's gonna be king of PvP in many pieces of PvP, that's what I can tell you guys. He's amazing for guild boss, hitting for hundreds of millions of damage in guild boss. He can one-shot so many pieces of content. He has so many different use cases. And he's gonna be so versatile, and for the things where he's gonna be, there's certain things where he's gonna be just unreal, just unmatched god, an unmatched demon. I'm amazed by him. What can I say? Nah, maybe God tier, I don't know. For the moment, I will put him into Z tier. But he's crazy. He's crazy with it. And he's gonna enable some of the chaotic teams even more. Chaotic teams starting to shine more and more, especially with Welder, and he's enabling them. And man, I want him. He's my most desired hero. I'm saving up for him, and he is the last part of the big three. These are the big three. Praetus, Valderon, and Solcadens are the big three, in my opinion. They are the ones, if they have a 10x, I'm gonna go in, because they are just so good. Especially Valderon. I just really hope we get a 10x for Valderon, and just like they got on the Forerunner, because I want him. I think he's an amazing fighter. He's gonna help out a lot in different content. And then in terms of the others, now you might think, oh, SS, if these SS units get a 10x, should I pull as well? And my answer is probably not. I think ancients are extremely rare, and you want to be really cautious with your ancients. Now if you have a 10x for one of these SS units, right, and a top tier chaotic unit or a top tier lord as well, if you have, let's say, a 10x for someone like a Twinfiend and also a Cyrus on top, then it's going to be an amazing banner, right? But the reason why I'm not particularly high on pulling on one of these SS tier units is because these guys are not in the Ancients exclusives. You can get them from divine summonings, you can get them from the normal summoning pool, and therefore having a 10x banner is automatically not as valuable as having a 10x banner for one of these Ancient exclusive heroes, especially one of these big three here. So of course this is also why I didn't pull for Twinfiend, right? You had Admiral Claw and Twinfiend, and I was able to hit 50k on the guild boss anyway. So I was like, I don't really need Twinfiend, right? I don't really need Twinfiend, and I don't want Admiral Claw. And on top of that, these guys, Twinfiend, the one that I want out of the two that are 10x, is going to be in the normal summoning pool, so maybe I will summon him anyways someday, right? Which is why yeah, which is why I'm saving up for a 10x for one of the big three. The question is, I think Solcadens will get a 10x someday soon, even though we had to wait a long time now. He will get a 10x. I'm not sure if Valderon is gonna get a 10x because he's gonna be crazy strong. But if he gets, I just want him. I just hope he gets at his release a 10x, just like on the Forerunner, because I've saved up a lot. But yeah, this is the final list. I'm pretty happy with this list. I think it's really accurate this way. So this is pretty much how I would rank them. I think this it is pretty much a pyramid. Yeah, this is the final list. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's pretty accurate. I tested them all on the server, on the test server as well, and I also believe I have quite a solid opinion about all of them. I explained my reasoning. These guys are niche, these guys are less niche, these guys are versatile, and these guys are boss killers. They're just boss killers, shredding bosses, and just extremely strong. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your opinion about the lords, and other than that, I'm Ronaldo, and I'm out. Peace.